Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Matt Lateplo, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Evofem Biosciences, Inc. Please note you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Amy Raskopf, Chief Business Development Officer of Evofem Biosciences, Inc., which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol EVFM. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm delighted to be here today with the Virtual Investor Conference. So before I get started, I just wanted to remind everyone that I will be making some forward-looking statements today. These are all covered under the Safe Harbor Act, but you can see this slide on the presentation, which is on our website as well. So Evofem, ticker EVFM, we are focused on women's sexual and reproductive health innovations. So we're based in the US, we're actually in San Diego, and we commercialize products. We are focused on addressing unmet needs in women's sexual and reproductive health. Now, these are both areas that have been significantly ignored by big pharma, but women are more than 50% of the population, and our medical needs really, truly matter. So our first product to market was FXi. It's for hormone-free, on-demand contraception. It is a bioadhesive vaginal gel, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it shortly. But we did 18.2 million in net sales in 2023, and we're looking for ongoing growth here in the US as well as globally. And then just last month, we acquired our second women's health asset. It's a brand called Soloc SEC, which is FDA approved for 2 indications, both in sexual health. We're going to be relaunching this product in the second half of 2024, leveraging our commercial infrastructure and the strong physician relationships that our team has built for FXi. It is the same call point for Soloc SEC. So it's a great opportunity to optimize our business and drive further growth. This is part of our 3-pronged strategy that we are executing. Our goals are to increase revenues from differentiated women's health products in the US, to expand our commercial offering with additional synergistic products like we've just done with Soloc SEC, and then to partner or license our products for global markets to maximize their revenue and reach more women around the world to better meet their needs. And I'll tell you a little bit about the first positive step in that direction shortly. So synergistic women's health solutions, Soloc SEC and FXi are an amazing example of this and what our team is achieving. So again, they're both for women's sexual and reproductive health concerns. Soloc SEC is approved for 2 conditions that affect women, and actually one of them also affects men. So the first is bacterial vaginosis, which affects 29% of the population in the US alone, and it's representative around the world too. That's about 21 million women in this country who are suffering from BV. Tricomoniasis is actually the largest non-viral STI in the world. It is a parasite and it affects both men and women. So about 5.4 million people in the US suffer from trick on an annual basis. That's 2.1 million women and 3.3 million men. And interestingly, when one partner is discovered to be infected with trick, all of their other partners must simultaneously be treated. So that's an important nuance here. Meanwhile, for FXi, it is hormone-free contraception that women use only when they need it, never when they don't. And through their behavior, 23.3 million women in this country alone have demonstrated that they will not use hormones. 13 million women are not using any contraceptive at all, despite being of reproductive age and saying that they don't want to get pregnant. And another 10.3 million women are using non-prescription methods that are hormone-free. So FXi is an amazing option for these women, and it is a prescription product, so it's covered under the ACA. Women are mandated to have access to it at 0 copay. Some plans have it on a copay, but it's very accessible. So continuing from there to get a little deeper in on FXi. So FXi is the first and only product of its kind. It is a vaginal pH modulator, which you may not have heard of. So what it does is it maintains the normal vaginal pH in the 3.5 to 4.5 range, which is slightly acidic. And that's despite the efforts of semen to elevate that pH. So normally semen enters the vagina, the pH goes up to where it's around 7 or 8, sperm can survive, they swim up the canal, they fertilize the egg, pregnancy happens. What FXi does is maintain, you put it in before sex, 0 to 60 minutes, and it maintains that 3.5 to 4.5 pH, even when semen is introduced, so that the sperm enter the vagina, they can't progress in this higher pH or lower pH environment. Sorry, I misspoke. And then they just stop swimming, curl up, and die quietly. So let me show you what it looks like, actually. It is in a box of 12 pre-filled applicators per prescription. And so there are 12 little sachets. They're very discreet. You can pop them in your purse, keep them in your nightstand. They're obviously well sealed, so it's going to keep the product clean and sterile, ready for use. Once you open the pre-filled applicator, the woman takes it out, and take a look at this. It's just like a tampon, right? So it's pre-filled. You take the little pink end off, you insert the plunger into the barrel where the FXi is already pre-filled. It's very convenient and easy. And you insert it into the vagina where you can see that's the volume of it there. It's translucent, it's clear. It's also, one of the reasons we demo this, it's highly viscous. So it was pre-approved by the FDA for lubrication. We did not bring it to the market as this because we wanted to go for the contraceptive indication, which we succeeded in. But both partners have shown in analysis in our clinical trials that the lubricating properties are very, very appealing. So there it is. It's not messy. It's highly viscous. It stays in the vagina where it's dispersed throughout the cavity during the act of sex, and it does its job to prevent pregnancy. So it's a very elegant solution. And again, women control it. They only use it when they're going to have sex, never when they don't. It achieves pregnancy prevention with no hormones. So if we can show the slides again, that would be great. So again, talking to what we've done with FXi, we launched it in September of 2020. Yes, the good old COVID days. We launched it into a pandemic because we had gotten approval and we couldn't delay much longer. But we grew from where we were in the back half of 2020. In 2021, we grew again in 22. We did have a reduction in expenses during 2023. And so we didn't put a lot of muscle behind it from a commercialization perspective, marketing perspective. Contraception is a very promotionally sensitive category. And yet, despite that, we still were able to grow the brand with our small but mighty sales force. And to put a finer point on that, if you take a look at our selling and marketing expense, so the yellow line is the selling and marketing costs, the blue is product sales. You can see that between 2022, where it was a very, very tall yellow line, going into 23, we dropped it dramatically. Since the first quarter of 2023, we have had a favorable ratio of sales and marketing costs to product sales, and we're looking to continue that and to continue growing our sales going forward. So one of the ways we're doing that is by really being smart about the patients who are FXi women. So we're going for and targeting women who are aligned with the user profiles, women who are already not using a prescription contraceptive, women who live with depression and anxiety. These are comorbidities that are very important. You don't want to be taking exogenous hormones if depression is an issue for you. It can compound that factor, and it's even harder for psychologists, psychiatrists to then address your depression and anxiety issues. Postpartum mothers are an amazingly low-hanging fruit for us. These are women who are concerned about the effects of hormones that they might be taking in their breast milk. They don't want hormones transferring into their infants. Women who struggle with their weight are others who are candidates for hormone-free contraception and FXi. You may or may not know that one of the known and respected and really troublesome side effects of taking exogenous hormones is weight gain. Women can gain 15 to 20 pounds on their pill, and that's because the progesterone in it, or progestogens, tricks their body into thinking that they're pregnant, so they're putting on that baby weight when they're not. So a lot of women who struggle with weight don't want to have that added hurdle to overcome. Any woman who's in need of non-systemic contraception because she doesn't want to worry about drug-drug interactions that occur with things taken orally or that are systemic in your blood. Women who survived or who are at risk for hormone-sensitive cancers. And then any woman who says, if my chicken on my table can be hormone-free, why can't I? They want hormonal. They're living non-hormonal. They're living healthy. They're doing yoga. They're making smart lifestyle choices. A lot of these women are coming to FXi as well. So just some things to think about as we're going out with our field force, talking to OBGYNs and encouraging them to have conversations with appropriate women for FXi. So another area that I want to focus on with regard to weight loss is an opportunity that has really been all over the media this year, and this is GLP-1s. So these include products like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound. These are drugs that women are using, some for type 2 diabetes, but the vast majority of women taking them are doing it for weight loss. And these products, whether it's explicit in their labels or not, women are advised if they're using an oral contraceptive, they either are told to either switch to a non-oral contraceptive method or to add a barrier method for 4 weeks after they start their treatment, and then every time they dose escalate for another 4 weeks. So what they can layer on top of a hormone has to be hormone free. Now, most partners don't want to add on a condom, so a really logical choice for them is to use FXi for that added protection to ensure that they don't have an unintended pregnancy while they're on these weight loss drugs. And in fact, exposure to fetus to the drug is highlighted and flagged quite loudly, and so it's important that women are aware of this and prevent pregnancy while they're taking GLP-1s. Now, if taking a look at the opportunity from that, a JP Morgan analyst estimated that by 2030, 30 million Americans are going to be taking GLP-1s. That alone is staggering. But when you do the math and extrapolate back based on the US population, so 25.6% of the population is women of reproductive age, then you drill down into percentage using GLP-1s, you take a look at how many of those would representatively being using orals, that gives you 1.1 million FXi targets just from GLP-1s in 1 year. And so factoring out at the current net to Evofem, that gets us an additional lift of more than $200 million in annual net sales opportunity there. So we are continuing to work to raise awareness of that issue, to raise awareness of the FXi solution for these women. And we actually recently partnered with a company called Hello Alpha, which has an amazing platform for women's health. They partner with employers. And so one thing that they're doing is training all of their physicians on the line. When they're talking with a woman who's either taking or considering a GLP-1, they're talking to her to make sure that if she intends to stay on her oral birth control pill, that she knows about FXi. They can write that script for her. They can educate her. And the more women that know about it, the more women that can do it and protect themselves. As I mentioned earlier, part of our strategy is to partner our assets outside of the US to maximize their revenue. We are focused ourselves on commercializing in the US. That's our expertise. That's where we're strong. We're not going to dilute our own effort by trying to be masters of everything. So we are partnering with smart companies outside the US. And we just executed our first license agreement for FXi outside the US. We're going into the Middle East with an amazing partner called Pharma One Drugstore. They have a really smart sales team, and they're also very savvy on the marketing side. So they're going to be commercializing FXi starting in the UAE and then moving into Kuwait, Saudi, and Qatar and other GCC countries. So we're pleased to be partnering with them. They really know the mindset of women and the OBGYNs that they're promoting to. And, we are eager for that first regulatory filing to be made this fall, and then look forward to them launching the product and continuing on with it from there. Meanwhile, we are also exploring opportunities in other territories for FXi and now for Soloc SEC too. Literally, I was on one call just before coming here to present to you today. Interest has just blossomed since we announced the Soloc SEC acquisition and since people are seeing our ongoing traction with FXi. So it's a really great time at Evofem, and we look forward to further updating you in due course. So to spend a little time on Soloc SEC, which, as I mentioned, is our newest acquired product, and we're really excited about it. It is approved for 2 indications. Now, Soloc SEC was first approved in 2019, actually, for BV and launched. It's approved for use in females 12 and older. And as I mentioned before, BV it's an imbalance of the normal flora in the vagina. So when those flora have an overgrowth, there can be many side effects. The most noticeable of them for women is unpleasant odor and discomfort. And so what you do by treating it is you you can reduce that. Now, there are many different types of treatments that are available for that, but Soloc SEC is a very elegant solution. It is one and done. You open the packet, you put the granules into either a yogurt or a pudding or an applesauce, stir them in, you consume that within 30 minutes, and that's it. You are done. It's such an easy solution. And I can't even emphasize how much easier it is to do that versus having 7 days, twice a day's tablets. So it's really important that people, when they're diagnosed, are knowing now with our relaunch that this is an available opportunity for them in the US. We've already had contacts with certain physicians, even before we're out relaunching with our sales force. They're reaching out to us and saying that they're so excited that we're going to be out there making sure that women are aware of this, OBGYNs are aware of this, and because they really are very, very excited about the product and what it can do for women. And interestingly, one thing that a lot of people don't know is that when the pH of the vagina is higher, it is a more friendly environment for trick and other STIs as well. So when you have BV, which is characterized by that higher pH, you're more likely to have other issues too. So by taking matters into your hands and taking care of it with Soloc SEC, you can reduce that as well, and concomitance goes down. The second indication, which I did just mention, trichomoniasis, again, it's the most common non-viral STI in the world. Trichomonas vaginalis is the parasite at hand. It infects approximately 5.4 million people a year in the US, and both partners must be treated. If one person has more than one other sexual partner, they all have to be treated. So it's a real problem, and it needs to be dealt with. And again, there's cross-pollination. Approximately 70% of women with trick are also infected with the bacteria that are causing the BV. So it goes back and forth, and she really needs to make sure that she's treated quickly and effectively, and it's done. So this is an elegant solution here. And one of the great things is when our field force is going to be out detailing it to the OBGYNs, it also cross-pollinates with FXi because we're talking about the vaginal biome. We're talking about the effect of vaginal pH, and that all ties in together. So, we really look forward to leveraging one product to then dovetail right into the other and vice versa, so that we can have even more meaningful conversations with our HCPs. Soloc SEC, as I mentioned, it was launched before COVID. So if you take a look at what it was doing before COVID, Soloc SEC is the green line, and it's going up and up and up to where it was on a 20 million annualized run rate just from BV. This is before it was approved for trick. Again, that came during COVID. So, it hadn't been consistently commercialized since COVID. There have been some on-off start-stops, and we're really eager to get this product back out in the US market, eager to consistently promote it, to get the word out of what it can do for women, make sure HCPs are aware of this elegant and easy one-and-done oral solution for both of these STIs. So before I open this to questions, I just wanted to recap. Evofem is tenacious. Our team is deeply experienced in women's health, both our management as well as our entire commercialization organization. We have deep experience, and we are focused on success. We are commercializing innovative prescription women's health products in the US, FXi for contraception, hormone-free, the only vaginal pH modulator. It's woman-controlled and used only when needed. It's safe and it's effective. Soloc SEC, treating BV and trichomoniasis. It's an oral single-dose treatment, one and done. It doesn't get any easier than that. We're targeting attractive markets that are just so perfect for us, right? For FXi, a small percentage of the contraceptive market share yields incredibly large revenues, both in the US and then globally. We're protected by 5 Orange Book listed patents that cover us through 2033. For Soloc SEC, we're relaunching a differentiated, commercially attractive drug, again, for these 2 common sexual health infections. That relaunch is going to start this fall. And Soloc SEC has 9 Orange Book listed patents through 2035. And for both of these assets, we're very eager to take them outside of the US to maximize their footprint and drive more revenue, which translates to more return for shareholders. So with that, I would like to open the call up, please, to questions. Our first question comes, and I'm just going to take a moment to make my question screen a little bit larger so I can see it. Our question is, how much cash do we have on hand? That's a great question. We do not maintain a large cash balance. We bring revenue in from the sale of FXi. We use that to pay our bills. So we're not maintaining a cash balance that you'd see with a larger biotech company, but we have enough to keep going. We have done because we are not yet cash flow positive. We're not yet profitable, but we're working to get there as quickly as we can, at which point we expect to be self-sustaining. So I hope that answers that question thoroughly. Let me just read the next question out. Okay, our next question is about the Aditext M&A thesis and status. That's a great question. So Aditext is a publicly traded company. They're on the NASDAQ under ticker ADTX. And last December, we entered into agreement with them where we would merge with them and be a subsidiary of Aditext. That has not closed yet. We just inked our fifth amendment to that and reinstated the agreement. Aditext is very interested in establishing a vertical in the women's health space, and they believe that Evofem is the best vehicle for them to do it. They want to bring us under the Adifem umbrella, invest in our company to create a successful women's health roll-up. Then the strategy there is that they would incubate us in bringing in other products, supporting us with their platform, with resources, and eventually the strategy would be, in ideally less than 2 years, is what we understand, that they would want to spin us back out as a new public company, as a standalone, almost with the baby Vant model. So think of us as a potential baby Addy. Now, there are some criteria for this to close. Obviously, those have all been laid out in the SEC filing, so I won't go too much into those now. But we have been the benefit so far to us is that because they're on a NASDAQ listing, right, it's very difficult for an OTC traded company to go out and raise capital in the public markets. It's very difficult to do that. Most institutional investors aren't able to invest in or hold stock in OTC companies. And so what we have done is we've issued in very, very judicious, small quantities. We've issued some preferred stock to Aditext. They in turn have paid us for that. They have in turn issued preferred stock to certain institutional investors. So basically, it's a way that they've been funding us while we're on the OTC to enable us to do things like continue marketing FXi in the moments where we've got vendors that we need to pay above what we've brought in from receipts. It enabled us to close the Soloc SEC deal. And so we are grateful for their support. We do think it's an interesting platform, and we think that there are some definite benefits to this contemplated transaction. So we are working alongside of them towards a goal of closing the transaction in the third quarter. But again, that's subject to closing conditions. And so, and we need to obviously get the favorable vote from our stockholders. So you can expect that a proxy will be forthcoming at some point related to that. All right, so let's see. The next question is, can you discuss your valuation and what are the catalysts for a revaluation of your company? So it's a little bit difficult to discuss valuation because there are so many factors that go into it. What I can tell you is that where our common stock is trading today and our market cap does not remotely reflect the value of our products and the market opportunities that we are succeeding in addressing. So if you take a look at just contraception alone, right? If we get just a small portion of the available market in the US of women who are not using hormonal contraceptives, you're looking at a multi-million dollar opportunity, like hundreds of millions of dollars per percentage of market share. And I laid out the opportunity in GLPs pretty clearly too. Obviously, those are both higher than what we are doing on our market cap today. In terms of how do we fix that? How do we get there? I think it's a combination of ongoing execution and then and I hate to say this because this is an OTC focused presentation, but I think really truly uplisting, getting back on the NASDAQ, or going under the Aditext umbrella as a subsidiary, growing, gaining more mass, getting profitable, and then spinning back out as a NASDAQ listed entity. I think that's the other part. And I say that because, look, the acquisition of Soloc SEC was one of the biggest events for Evofem since we got FDA approval for FXi. I mean, that's an enormous catalyst for us, and it's such a huge step forward. And yet our stock didn't move. So on the OTC, it's just so very difficult. We look forward to moving beyond being a penny stock. This company is so tenacious and focused on execution that we will succeed. It's just a matter of when the market wakes up and gives us credit for doing it. And now we had a question with regard to, and I know we're only 5 minutes left. I have a little flashing timer in the corner here. So there was a question to the sales resources and strategy. So I'm assuming that that question relates to the US market, since that's where our commercial organization is focused. And so I'll talk to that. So our resources, we have a team of 16 reps that are focused in areas where we have the most favorable reimbursement for FXi and where our research demonstrates that we've got higher concentrations of women using FXi. Now, some of our reps are also doing virtual calls to HCPs that are in other territories, those who have written FXi in the past, those that have expressed interest, areas where there are pockets of FXi users, because we can see this from the sales demographics, right? So we're focused smartly on those areas. Now, that does tend to be a lot of, hugging the crust of the country and then penetrating, into the South and some of the larger spaces as well. But that's how we're strategically focused, right? We can't be absolutely everywhere with a team of 16, but our team is amazing. And we have, we have field managers that are working with them, supporting them, helping them to grow those businesses, helping them to deepen traction with these HCPs, and then expand with new HCPs as the opportunities arise. And then those HCPs then, of course, they see the women, they talk to their patients, they're prescribing. We also have a full telehealth platform where women can have a virtual HCP visit for their contraceptive needs, which is, by the way, incredibly common for contraception. Women, they understand that they can have these conversations virtually if it's at a time when they don't need to be going for their annual to put their feet in the stirrups. So they can have the contraceptive counseling call through FXi.com. Then the HCP, they have the dialogue, they ask the questions, and if FXi is right for her, they can write the prescription, and they can even have it filled without ever going to a doctor or a pharmacy, and it can be mailed right to their doorstep. It's so easy. They can get refills that way as well. So that is our strategy. As you saw in my slides a little bit earlier, our spend has come down dramatically on sales and marketing. Our spend in Q1 was just 2.3 million, where we brought in 3.6 of product net sales. And by the way, that was a down quarter for us because of the negative impact of that cyber attack on Change Healthcare. Thankfully, that has we've moved forward from that in Q2 and things have normalized. But even still, we had a very favorable ratio of 65% in Q1. So we will be reporting our Q2 results in the middle of August, so in just a couple of weeks. And I hope that you will keep your eyes out. If you would like me to add you to our distribution list for mailing, you can just send an email to ir@evofem.com, and I will be happy to add your email to that. I would also welcome any follow-up questions, but unfortunately, I am out of time for today. My timer is flashing in the corner. So I'm grateful for your questions. And thank you so much for your ongoing interest in Evofem and your alignment with us on our mission to improve women's lives by providing them innovative solutions for their unmet needs in